Hey folks, sorry about the bad lighting. I am not captured by aliens. I am just about to go to bed, so I turned on this pink light. And I'm going to tell you folks another very embarrassing story because I know you love them, as you always say. And this one is about a strange encounter, the strange encounter I promised you, the story of how I almost died impersonating Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris is, of course, the martial artist of legend. He is known for being in the TV show Walker, Texas Ranger, of course, but I think a lot of big Bruce Lee fans will know him from Enter the Dragon, where he had a showdown with Bruce Lee. And Chuck Norris sort of gained a little bit of a god status among the youth of the 2000s when they would circulate these ridiculous Chuck Norris facts that were presumed to be true. I don't know. Some facts, they weren't even facts. You know, like one of them was, you don't find Chuck Norris finds you, and stuff like that. Like, there's a whole bunch of silly ones. Maybe I could read them at the end of this video. None of them are coming to mind right now, but there's just a whole bunch of ridiculous ones. And, just silly stuff that's, like, supposed to, paint him as, like, this undefeatable character, this god among men. And I had a poster in my childhood bedroom of all these Chuck Norris facts. And I would read it, after school. So there was a period of time where my parents weren't living at the house that I would get dropped off for school at. Basically, they had recently got a new house, and so they had moved out of the house I was originally living at into a new neighborhood, but I was still finishing up school in that old school district. And so I would come home and the house would just be empty, so I'd have to wait all alone. It was very lonely for my parents to come back. And so I would just lay down on my bed, do my homework, go to bed, have a nap, because I would often stay up really late playing video games, RuneScape or something like that. And one of these days, I was just laying down on my bed, and I guess relevant to the story is I would also make myself snacks to wait for my mom to come pick me up, because both of my parents worked. So one of them my mom would usually pick me up after school. And so I would have some snacks, and I'd always make myself a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, which we'll go into that later. But anyways, I would have this peanut butter, and one of these days, I had the peanut butter there, and I read one of these Chuck Norris facts was that Chuck Norris can gargle peanut butter. Gargling, of course, being the process where you take a liquid in your mouth and you sort of, by sheer force, push air bubbles through this liquid. Now, peanut butter is in theory a liquid, but it is not viscous, so it would be very hard to gargle. But as the ambitious youth I was, I thought it'd be really fun just to try that. And so, after I had finished my peanut butter sandwich, I think I had some extra milk there too. I just scooped a wad of peanut butter and put it in my mouth. And, I sort of looked up and I was like, oh, just trying to blow out of my mouth, trying to gargle this thing. And I couldn't. And then I was like, okay, that was silly, right? That was fun. But then once I finished, like, blowing out, of course I had to inhale. So I was like, and then as soon as I inhaled, that glob of peanut butter got stuck in my throat. And that's when I began to die. You've got, I don't know how long it is, probably less than a minute before you die from suffocating. And, man, every second counts. So I was just shook. I could not breathe at all. And again, I'm like trying to push it out with just the air thing. Can't do it at all. So drastic times call for drastic measures. I took my hand and I sort of cupped it like this into a little, like, I don't know what you would call this, like a little ball-like form. And I shoved it into my mouth, sort of scraping the roof of my mouth beyond my uvula, right? Just kind of wiggling that out of the way. And literally just went in there like a little claw and scooped out as much of that peanut butter as I could. Then fell over onto my arms and elbows and knees, and I just coughed this stuff. This, mixed with mucus and saliva and peanut butter, this strange concoction of my own bodily fluids and the God-given gift that is peanut butter. And, just sort of threw it up, in a sense, on the floor. And then I laughed about it, I was like, what the hell? That was crazy. And that's the story of how I realized I was not Chuck Norris. And I never would be. And I've never attempted to do that again. It was very stupid, and I almost died. And there was no one in the house who could have helped me. So I definitely would have. I don't know what my parents would have thought if they had found me choked out on peanut butter. Probably thought it was some weird sex thing. Yeah, that's the story. Jeez Louise. Well, I don't know what story I'd like to tell you next. I think I'll tell you a few fascinating stories from when I wrestled in high school. In particular, the story of how one of my opponents decided instead of competing against me, he would bite into my flesh. That was a wild adventure. The time when I met a vampire, let's say. And I'll tell you about that one in the next one. So catch you folks later, and I hope you enjoyed this story. And now you know another one of my embarrassing secrets. Goodbye.